Greetings, gamer guys and gals. Welcome to part number 47 of my Let's Play Fire Emblem 5 Thracia 776. And in today's episode, we're going to be dealing with one last enemy. I think we might end up having more reinforcements. I don't know for a fact, but how you find out these kinds of things is by seeing it for yourself. Now, as you can see, I put my units in such a way that they're two spaces apart each, starting from the middle of where Barrett was, and that's the reason. The reason being is because these spaces would be where the ballista would normally spawn in. Now, I'm no expert on where all of the reinforcements are in this chapter. In fact, I dare say I'm the opposite of an expert, because I don't thoroughly plan these things out. Not because it's not good to plan, but because it's not necessary for my uses. I do plan, but I don't always plan everything to a T. Leaf has his final fight, final showdown with this enemy here. Oh, and he adapted. Very nice. Very good level up as well. Very good. Leaf is turning out to be incredible. Now, we don't want him to have any higher constitution than 10. Can't really control that, but would be nice if he stuck with just 10. What it does mean is he's weighed down nothing anymore by the Kingmaker or the Light Brand. I actually even think the other preferential weapon he gets in this game, yes, he gets another, is also one that will not weigh him down. Alright, so just in case, we're going to move everybody in such a way that we are still blocking these little points here. And our flying units are over here. We do want to make sure that all of our mounted units are mounted. And I think that's it for our turn. Alright. So I did successfully block some of the reinforcements, apparently, but not all. And what we can do about these guys is we can just go and KO them. Alright. Doesn't really matter who we attack. Would be a great way to get more meteors if you were needing such. There is one unit we are getting later who can use these, and to decent effect because they're not that bad, especially considering that long-range magic is pretty fantastic, not being attacked back and whatnot. But it's not necessary. Worth it, sure. It's just not necessary. Though, with that being said, we can capture, so we're going to just go ahead and do it. It might not be necessary, but I'll be honest with you here when I say I would much rather have the stuff than not if I so need it. And our movement is down to 3, so we do need Pern to move over. Okay, cool. You can take the heal staff. Yeah, so when I sold off the meteor tomes in the beginning of this game, as I got several of them from the first couple of chapters, I would strongly recommend that if you are intent on using a fire mage in this game, that you don't do that. It gives you good money in the early game. But as you can see, I'm not really struggling with money. If you do some arena, if you're smart with what you capture and what you sell, you don't really need to sell the more valuable stuff. Because I have no real intention to use things like Meteor, it's not that big a deal for me. Prince Leaf, the enemy is retreating. What? Why would they do that? Because Salif's army has arrived. They've already surrounded Castle Ulster. and are mounting an assault as we speak. This is our salvation. We've done it. We're saved. Truly, Lord Seliph has... Hold a moment, Augustus. How do you know this? Listen to me go on. I've forgotten myself. Just now an emissary of Lord Seliph arrived. He awaits you inside the other chamber. Lord Seliph's emissary? I must meet him. Please send him in. So we meet at last, Prince Leaf. I'm a soldier in the service of Lord Seliph. I go by Dermot. Dermot? But that would make you... Are you Nana's older brother? I am. Lord Leaf, this is a letter from Lord Seliph. Give it a read, if you would, sire. Very well. It states that seizing Ulster shouldn't take very long at all. Indeed. It will fall to our army within a few days. Then there's no reason to delay. We must meet with Lord Seliph as soon as possible. We head for Ulster. I'm pleased to hear it, sire. I can guide you there. Was there anything else you needed to tell me on behalf of Lord Seliph? No, sire. Then now that that's done, it's my honor to introduce you to Nana. Dermot? Brother? Nana? Nana, it's really you! I'm so sorry it took me such a long time to find you. If I had just known you were here from the start, I would have dropped everything to be by your side. I only finally learned of you through Lord Lewin. Lord Lewin? He's Lord Seliph's tactician. There's nothing the man doesn't know. And he told me about Mother, too. How she was trying to reach Isaac, but vanished in the Yi Desert. Ah, she's not with you? I see. I had resigned myself to the fact that I'd likely never see her again, but even so... Mother, oh God. I'm sorry, Nana. Mother was traveling all that way for me. No, don't think like that. I used to resent her for leaving, but now that I'm older, I understand how Mother felt. All women feel the same deep love for their children. I've seen as much. I haven't given up, Nana. Lord Lewin said Mother was still alive. We can search for her together when the war is finally over. So, don't cry anymore, okay? Prince Leaf, I have a request if I may. Would you permit me to transfer into your army? I'll ask Lord Seliph for his leave to do so once we rejoin. Of course, I'd be glad to have you along, to support Nana. I'll explain the situation to Lord Seliph. By the time Leif had finished fighting in Leonster and departed for Ulster, the city had already fallen to the Isaacian Liberation Army led by Lord Seliph. However, the head of House Frege, King Bloom, had escaped to Connaught. In the now liberated Ulster, Leif finally met his cousin, a man who would be his friend and ally for the rest of his days, the Scion of Light, and Lord of House Chalfie, Seliph. What an incredibly daunting chapter this looks to be at first glance. In all reality, there is only a couple of foes in this chapter that are truly an issue. Like, for instance, the boss here. We're going to be doing something about him relatively quickly. We actually want both the bolting and the blizzard, so we're going to be stealing as much as we possibly can, as well as getting rid of Frege's ballistas, the iron ballistas and the regular ballistas here. There's even a new kind of ballista here, Venom Ballista. Long range, effective against flyers, poisons the target on hit. These don't have a lot of hit, but they can be quite the nuisance. There is an interesting side objective here. This church is the church you must visit with Linowin in order to get her promoted. So yes, this is the chapter where you can finally have Linowin promoted. We do have a secondary boss here, Simetz. He is kind of a nuisance, especially considering that he has Miracle and Nihil, as well as Adept. With a killer lance and 1 authority star, he's going to be a little bit of a difficult task. Three authority stars on Bishop Franz here. We are going to do our absolute best to get a hold of both this man's tornado as well as, well, all of the items of both of these two. Would be incredibly nice. And we've got basically 2 objectives here. We're going to be going to the east with Linowin's party so that she can get promoted. And we're going to be going to the south with the main group so that we can take on the enemies near the castle. We might end up even using some warp staves here so that we can just deal with these enemies pretty quickly. Now, there is a sleep staff here. We do want that as well. In order to get that, we're going to employ a silent staff to put that one quietly in his place. So we can get a lot of pretty good items from this, especially some good staves. We just have to be very careful about how we position our army and the items we bring. But with that being said, I am going to have to deploy and deal with our unit items off screen. I'll see you in a moment. And we are back with our unit set up, positioned correctly, and what we are bringing to this chapter. I think we are pretty well prepared for just about everything we're going to need to deal with. Sarah and Finn are both getting their promotions, as well as Linowin. So we're looking pretty fine with all of that. And we can go ahead and continue. Chapter 21, The War of Liberation.
Lord Seliph, we should be on our way soon.
Ah, Julia, are we out of time already? I wish we could keep talking, Prince Leaf, but I must be going. Leave the conquest of Connaught to us. I bid you go straight to Munster. I pray you forgive my selfishness, Lord Seliph. Nonsense. You're not being selfish at all. I understand your feelings perfectly. You can head to Munster with a clean conscience. I'll see you soon. Yes, in Munster. You can count on it.
I'll be praying for your health, Lord Leaf. If your fortune begins to wane, perhaps one of your own clerics could appeal to God. I believe there's a church on your route. I've heard it was built to receive the prayers of the ducal family of Tara.
Thank you, Lady Julia. Just don't forget to take care of yourself, too. How went your meeting with Lord Seliph, my prince? He and I are only a year apart, but he's such an incredible man. Indeed. He commands an army 10 times the size of ours, and he was able to lead them across the Yeed Desert. He's certainly not your ordinary youth.
But you said before that he was made into a hero, did you not?
I did say that, yes, and in one sense it's true, but I'm not discounting that Lord Seliph himself possesses outstanding talent. I suspect he'll eclipse the legend of his father, Lord Sigurd, by quite some measure. And meanwhile, I'm still just an embarrassment to the Onster. You've grown much over the past year, my prince. In another year, I expect you'll be the same caliber of a man as Lord Seliph. Now, putting that aside, what did you and he agree would be the plans for our armies going forward? Lord Seliph's main forces will go east along the shore to seize Connaught, as planned. Which frees our army to head for Fort Danzig, correct? Indeed. Lord Seliph readily granted my request. Leaving Connaught to Seliph means we can focus all our energy on seizing Munster. I want to head there as soon as possible. We'll have to claim Fort Danzig regardless. It controls the inland route to Munster. The army stands ready, Prince Leaf. We await your command. Then there's no time to lose. We storm Fort Danzig. Everybody remembers, we fight for pay, right? So don't be a hero. Wait for the enemy to break up their forces, then swoop in. Until then, nobody leave their post. All right. So we get a new unit, Dermot. And I love this. I absolutely love this because he's basically an homage to Fire Emblem 4. The past chapter and this one have been basically that as well. Going through and talking with Seliph and his dealings with Connaught and Ulster and Lord and King Bloom and so on and so forth. These are all events that are basically taking place around chapter 7 and 8 of Fire Emblem 4, which is pretty darn cool. It's something that I appreciate. It lends itself to being very intriguing and very cool. I love that these two games are tied in. This is basically like a mid-quel or an interquel of Fire Emblem 4. So Generation 1 and 2 are split up, and largely this game is taking place at the beginning of Generation 2, beginning to partial middle of Generation 2. And I appreciate that little attention to detail. So Dermot, he's a ranger, which is awesome. That means that he is a promoted unit, just like Fergus. As you can see, Fergus is a ranger as well, and quite a bit stronger than Dermot. But Dermot has some features that Fergus doesn't have immediately. Necessarily, they are very similar units. So Dermot has a follow-up critical modifier of 5, as well as pretty darn good growth rate. 70% HP, 40% strength, 15% magic, 65% skill, 45% speed, 65% luck, 30% defense, 15% con, and 2% movement. He is a level 3 ranger. He's a pre-promote. So one of the reasons why the stat caps in this game are at 20 is because this game is supposed to lead up to the big finale of FE4's Gen 2, which most of the units in that game have stat caps in the 20s, mid to upper 20s, even 30 is potentially possible, alongside the exalted Holy Blood weapons that bust units open wide just completely. Like, for instance, Ced's Forseti we saw earlier in the game in Chapter 4X, giving him plus 10 skill and plus 20... I think he actually gets plus 20 skill and plus 20 of speed. Skill and speed. But it's interesting stuff like that that makes for many of the reasons why I enjoy this game. Now, Dermot comes with his very own preferential weapon, the Bayo Blade. It is a 70 hit, 16 might, 30 crit, 1 range, 13 weight sword. It is not it is not a brave weapon like almost every other preferential weapon in this game, which is okay. I don't think every weapon needs to be a brave weapon. It just doesn't. It's a fantastic weapon for what it is, especially considering that it gives him fantastic and wonderful opportunities to find critical hits. So this is not just a preferential weapon for him. It's also something for Fergus. Dermot, Fergus, and Nana are all related. Now, this is only hinted at in this game, and there is nothing telling us this in Genealogy. But Fergus is technically the bastard son of Beowulf, who is the canonical husband of Rakusis, which is the mother of these 3 children. And that being said, it's pretty interesting that this weapon is a preferential weapon for more than one unit. We're actually going to see this later with another weapon that is preferential to 5. Incredible. Interesting. Now, this weapon gives Vantage and Wrath. This is probably the reason why so many people want to give Vantage and Wrath as a noob ability or noob capacity to like one of their units. Just say, hey, look, if I've got both of them, I'm always going to attack first, and then you're always going to crit. That's not at all how this works. So, if I'm not mistaken, Vantage overrides Wrath, because what happens is Wrath is the user's counterattack will be a critical hit. This means that you have to be fighting somebody who cancels out Vantage, so somebody who has Nihil, in order for you to get the effect of Wrath. This is, I seriously believe in oversight in this game. I think Vantage and Wrath are supposed to work together like they do in Path of Radiance, but they just do not. Now, he also comes with his very own personal skill of Charm. He gets this from his mother, Rakusis, just like Nana did. So plus 10 hit and avoid to all allies within 3 tiles of the user. So there's only 3 ways that you can get this ability in this game. One from the King Sword, and one from Nana and Dermot, and these do stack. Now, he comes with A rank in Sword and 10 in Movement, which is pretty darn good. It's just unfortunate that the Bale Blade, being as good as it is, also nerfs itself. Not something I truly care for, but it's not really something that you can really deal with either. You can't force that. So what we are going to do is we are going to... Alright, so who has my sleep staff? Alright, Salem has my sleep staff, and I did not bring him. So we're going to be silencing then. Sarah can go ahead and go right here and use the Master Seal. Most of her stats are pretty well close to capped, or are capped as it is, so this is kind of a needless promotion. But we're going to do it anyway, because why not? Let's go ahead and use our Silent Staff. On this priest. If this priest decides to run away and try to escape, I'm most likely going to have to reset this chapter. That is one problem with using a silence instead of a sleep, because they can still move, they can still act. All right. Bolting. As you can see, I did bring a good number of flying units, and part of the reason why I did was because I knew I was going to be using bolting and other such weapons and items in order to make sure that we took care of all of these flying units. Or took care of all these, not flying units, the ballista. Good grief, English is hard today. Alright, Linowin. You can move. The rest of my army, well, we can move Imelda with this group over here. I think that's actually for the best. Put her right here. The rest of my army is going to go down south and deal with the enemies at large. And a blank level up. Perfect. Now, we are going to finally promote Finn. He's going to be a... I believe it's called a Duke Knight in this game. We're going to find out very quick. I know it's called a Duke Knight in Genealogy. Alright, that's exactly what he is called. Still doesn't have C rank in swords, but spoiler alert, even though I usually get him ready to have and use stuff like the... Alright, we need somebody over here visiting this house. Usually I give him the ability to use the C rank staves. It's not that important. Or C rank swords. It's not that important because we're not going to be using him on our army as a permanent fixture. In fact, one of the only reasons why I'm even bothering to give him any experience at all or that Master Seal is because we have nobody else that we need to promote. There is literally nobody else. There's characters like Shroff and Tina who wouldn't mind a promotion but don't need it. And we'll be taking that Iron Ballista taking out that Iron Ballista as soon as possible. And yep, that's exactly what happened. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and reset, and we are going to use a sleep staff on that unit. Alright, and we are back, and using Sarah, we're going to go ahead and put this unit to sleep. So, we're using up a sleep staff use to get 3 more uses on a sleep staff without having to Hammern it. We do have the ability to Hammern more items, and in fact, Safi still has 2 Hammerns left. I actually have an idea of where one of those is going, so we really only have 1 Hammern staff open. And because of that, we have to be kind of a little bit careful, a little bit frugal with what we do, as we only have 1 more use, and you can't Hammern the Hammern staff. Would be nice, but that's just not how things work. Luckily for us, Xavier cannot be crit, which is nice. And that's the enemy's turn. Cool. I think pretty much all or most of these guys can be one-shot. No, not quite. We could ensorcel here. Do we have an ensorcel on us, though? I don't think we do. I really don't think we do. Ah, that's truly unfortunate. That would have allowed us to attack and KO the Ballista with 1 shot with bolting. We're not going to be able to do that with this one. The only thing that means is that we're going to have to attack twice. So, let's see. Let's make sure we're in the zone of being able to be moved again with Laura. Perfect. Now, you have to be very careful where we put Olwen here. So right here should be fine. We're only going to have 1 more bolting this chapter, but that's okay. We don't really need all the boltings we have. And we're also going to heal up Xavier here and continue moving downward. And Marita as well. Yep, we'll just move all the way down. Leaf 2. We do want to heal up Dermot. And then we are going to use Dermot to take out this Ballista. Perfect. Awesome. Yeah, we do have to be very careful about our placements here. Especially with our flyers, as they are all cleanly one-shot by these enemies here. Ooh, Fergus gets to move again. Well, it would actually be exceptionally good if we could take out that Iron Ballista right now, but that's not exactly what's happening, is it? Yeah, all of these guys here have Rider's Banes and Javelins, so they're going to be kind of a little bit of a tricky issue to deal with. I kind of brought Xavier down to deal with them on purpose, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to go according to that plan. We're going to try. We are definitely going to try. Let's see. Can they reach? They can reach that spot there. So I think it's for the best to just attack one with the Armor Slayer and then move back. Finn can move up as well. Sarah can visit this house for a moment.
Ever since the Empire took over, this whole place has gone to hell. Bah! I wish I could go back to the old days. So I don't care what you do, just drive the Empire out of here. I know this little vial seems worthless now, but just be patient. I'm sure it'll be a lifesaver someday.
And we got a little bit of pure water. Actually, that would have been really fantastic to use on Olwen. And that's our turn. Yeah, reinforcements come out of those two forts, but they're highly inconsequential. I don't think you want your units to be anywhere near your starting position after a certain turn. Not too sure on that one. But they're not going to be at some point, so it's okay. Yeah, it was not likely that you were going to hit Asbel. Just saying. Alright, so with that being said, I think this is our wonderful instance that we can bid farewell and say our goodbyes. I want to thank you for joining me. If you like my content, please upvote and follow, or like and subscribe depending on your platform. And while you're at it, have a great and glorious day gaming.